A common example used when talking about the believability of settlements in games is
When do you think the NCR will send their troops to help us?
Where do the people living there get their food and water? And New Vegas unfortunately falls short when it comes to answering this. Ultimately, this leads to the Mojave settlements feeling just as barren as the desert itself, but it doesn't need to be. And that's exactly what Claw's lived-in series of mods has done to several of the settlements you can find across the wastes, adding subtle and realistic clutter to Goodsprings, Primm, the Mojave Outpost, and Sloan. All these mods are standalone, so you can pick and choose which ones you want in case you have, say, I don't know, another Goodsprings overhaul you prefer or something. But an issue a lot of mods that aim to do this have is that they just go way too overboard with things like some of the items, which negatively harms performance, or they just sort of ignore things like updating the nav meshes, which can cause oddities with NPC behaviour. But here in the lived-in series, they've been updated, well, the nav meshes, and they've been based on the nav mesh overhaul mod. And the clutter is subtle, so you don't get a massive performance hit, but it is still really noticeable and goes that extra step in making the wasteland feel more immersive. In Goodsprings, this clutter takes the form of adding some appropriate decorations outside Chet's general store, adding a trove for the bighorners so you know they actually have somewhere to eat from, some plants and furniture outside the houses, and giving the school a small playground. Something that's always bothered me with Primm is that despite its numerous residents inside the Vicky and Vance casino, the majority of the town's buildings are deserted, but with this mod installed that's no longer the case. Previously empty buildings now have some simple clutter that makes them look, well, lived in. Things like beds, rugs, kitchens and all of that sort of stuff are in some of these formerly empty buildings, and now the town looks like it's actually been taken over by a group of convicts, with the entrance road having makeshift barricades made out of things like benches and shelves. And all of this comes together to help tell the story of Primm. Now, the Mojave Outpost has probably seen the most changes. It now has the stuff you'd expect from an outpost: a radio tower, tents, and a training dummy for the troops stationed there. The beds for the traders now also isn't right next to the Brahmin pen, which is honestly something I never really thought about until now, but yeah, that would probably be really unpleasant sleeping there. And Sloan, well, it now has a bed for Snuggles. It also has probably seen the most new clutter out of any of these locations so far. The desolate shantytown now has its NCR allegiance first and foremost, with a flagpole in the town centre displaying their flag, and some anti-Legion propaganda posters outside some of the shacks. But to answer that simple question in the beginning of how do people live here, well, with these mods installed, water towers and food sources have been added around, and they really just make the settlements and New Vegas' world a whole lot more believable. Overall, this is a pretty nice vanilla friendly mod that will fit in mostly any load order, so if you want a more immersive experience in New Vegas, you might want to check these 4 out. But anyways, that's going to be all for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, maybe consider liking or subscribing. But I hope to see you all next time.